Hey everyone, and welcome back to On the Road Again. Now, if you're new here, I'm Rob, and with my partner James, we love to share our adventures and our travels around the world. Now, in last week's video, I talked about the exciting journey of buying an apartment in beautiful Cape Town in Bantry Bay. And this week, I want to broaden the discussion and talk about our plans to spend more time in Africa and what that means in terms of getting a visa or applying for residency. So that's what we're talking about today. I'm going to share with you the various options. I'm also going to talk to you about why we've made this decision. So let's jump in and let's get started. Hi, we're James and Rob, and this is our dog Oscar. We love travel in all its forms, so join us on our next adventure as we head out on the road again. This week I want to broaden our discussion beyond our decision to buy in Cape Town and share with you our longer term plans of moving there, and that means applying for a visa or applying for residency in South Africa so we can spend just more than a few months at a time there. So in today's vlog I'll share with you more about our decision to move there, and I'll break down the different types of visa or the different types of options you have to spend more than a month or 3 months at a time in beautiful Cape Town. And I'll explain why we've made the decision to immediately apply for our residency and the process of going through that application and how long it takes. So whether you're thinking about a similar move or maybe just interested to see about the process, then stick around. There's lots to cover, so let's get started. So let's kick off today's vlog with a reminder of why we have fallen in love with South Africa and why it is the perfect place for us to move to, or certainly to spend half our year there. First up, the scenery. One thing we really love about Cape Town in particular is there are so many things on your doorstep, from the amazing Table Mountain and Lion's Head if you're into hiking, to the beautiful beaches of Clifton and Camps Bay, to the fantastic shopping and the food in the restaurants and so on. There is so much to do, and you don't have to go very far to do something different. Next to the culture, South Africa is a melting point of diverse cultures, which makes it for a vibrant and a rich experience. Of course, you can't not talk about the food and the wine here. Amazing quality food, fantastic wines, of course, because they're produced on the doorstep and all at a really affordable price for us Europeans. I totally understand, not necessarily for native South Africans. Also, we've met so many friendly people when we have been there, and there's always something new to discover. And let's not forget the lifestyle, which is one of the predominant reasons why we want to move there. The pace of life is relaxed. Of course, in the summer, the weather is really consistent. It never gets really too hot, but it's not like the UK where you might have a couple of days of nice sunny weather and then it rains. In South Africa, predominantly in the summer, it's going to be in the mid-20s, which is the mid-70s, and consistently nice weather. So that means it's a really outdoor life with lots of amazing coffee shops and places to walk and places to explore. And as I've said, another big reason for us to move there is the cost of living, because compared to many Western countries, South Africa offers a way more affordable lifestyle, whether it's going out or buying food or entertainment. Your money goes an awful lot further, allowing us to live a really comfortable life, perhaps at half to maybe 2/3 of the cost that it would cost us in the UK. And to be quite honest, the quality of everything is a lot better, generally speaking, than it is in the UK right now. Lastly, I also want to mention the community, because we found a super warm and welcoming expat community in South Africa, which is making us feel at home much more quickly. From one introduction by a mutual contact has sort of opened out into a whole amazing group of like-minded friends who are living their best life in South Africa during their summer and our winter in the Northern Hemisphere. So it's helped me and James feel at home much quicker. So those are just the few of the reasons why we want to spend more time in South Africa and in Cape Town in particular, and why it's become a home away from home. It's the perfect blend of adventure, relaxation and community, and we couldn't be happier with our decision. So let's dive into the nitty-gritty of getting a visa or residency, which means that you can spend more than 90 days at a time if you're in countries where you get an automatic visa like you do in the UK or the US, or a month at a time if you have to apply for a visa. And I want to share with you the various options and the details of each of those options, and also tell you why we've chosen the option we have chosen. Okay, so I got my notes in front of me. So first of all, let's talk about the visitor visa. This is the most straightforward option if you're planning on a short stay. So the visitor's visa allows you to stay in South Africa for up to 90 days. And it's the perfect visa for vacations or short-term visits. In fact, it's what we have used every time we've been there so far. However, it isn't extendable beyond that period, so it's not suitable for longer term stays. So sometimes in the past, what people have done is that they have got the visitor's visa. Now, like I say, if you're from the UK or the US or most of European countries, you'll automatically get that visa upon entry through immigration. You don't have to pay for it, you don't have to apply for it, it's just automatic. And what people have done in the past have gone there and then they've crossed the border into a neighbouring country such as Namibia or Botswana or Zimbabwe, and then they've come back in to the country and got another 90-day stamp in their passport. However, these days that is frowned upon, and so you may get rejected when you come back through immigration, just depending on the mood of the person who is manning the immigration desk at the time. So you have to question, is that worth the risks? And we think it's definitely not worth the risk. So if you did want to get your 90-day visa renewed, you probably need to leave the country for a week, come back to the UK or wherever you come from, and then head back again. Of course, that can get very expensive. So there are a number of other options available to you. And let's start off with the work visa. So this requires that you've had a job offer from a South African employer. And there are several types of visa here, including the general work visa, the critical skills visa, and the inter-company transfer visa. Each has specific requirements and benefits. And I won't go into the detail of that because you can Google it, and most of you probably aren't interested in getting a work visa. And obviously, if your employer is transferring you or you're getting a job in South Africa, then the company is going to help you through the application process. The next kind of visa is a study visa. And this is for those who are planning to enrol in a South African educational institution. So you'll need a letter of acceptance from the school and proof of sufficient funds to cover your tuition and your living expenses. For entrepreneurs, there is the business visa. This visa requires a substantial investment in a new or existing South African business, and you'll need a detailed business plan and evidence of capital investment. And you also need to employ a certain amount of South Africans. Now, James and I did look into this years ago because quite a long time ago, we had this fantasy of buying a B&B out in South Africa. And of course, that meant we could get this entrepreneurs or this business visa, but you had to, like I say, employ a certain amount of people, and it just didn't quite make sense for us. Now, I want to kind of stop press here because almost as I'm recording this video, South Africa has announced that they're introducing the digital nomad visa. They talked about this in the State of the Nation presentation back in 2022, and of course everything takes an awful long time, but they have just announced that it is actually going to happen, which is fantastic news. I don't really know much of the detail of it yet, except for the fact that you would need to demonstrate you are earning from your own business outside of South Africa 1 million rand a year, which is about £50,000 or about $55,000. So it's not a huge hurdle to jump over. I'm sure a lot of people will actually earn that amount of money, and it will give you an ability to spend longer time there. Now, some of the comments I've seen in some of the communities talk about the fact that, well, you know, if you spend more than 6 months in South Africa, you're going to have to pay tax there, and they're complaining as though that's some kind of South African rule. Well, it's not a South African rule. It's a rule of many countries across the world that if you spend more than 6 months in any one country, then you have to register for tax and pay tax there. It's why many of my friends spend 5 months and 30 days in Cape Town during the winter and then leave to go back to Spain or the US or the UK, where they are a tax resident, and then they'll spend 6 months and a day there because that's where they're registered for tax. So you obviously don't want to have to register for tax twice, and it can get really complicated and expensive. So that isn't a South African rule, it's just a rule in a lot of countries. So there is the digital nomad visa. It looks really exciting. It may be a route that we go down in the short term because it will give us the ability to spend more time there, and as I say, we can demonstrate that we earn more than about £42,000. So if you earn more than £42,000 as a freelancer or any kind of digital nomad, then you will be able to get this visa. I'm not sure what the other hurdles are yet. As I say, that is pretty hot off the press. So that's your business visa, and the digital nomad visa are two other options. But now let me focus on two visas that are particularly relevant for those looking to stay longer term without working or studying. So probably they're heading towards retirement like we are, and that is the retirement visa and the financial independent visa. So the retirement visa is a great option if you've got steady income from a pension, from other income, or from a retirement annuity. And to qualify this, you need to demonstrate that you have monthly income of at least 37,000 Rand, which is about £1,600 per month, or about $1,700 per month. And this visa is valid up to 4 years, and it can be renewed. And this was the first route that we were considering going down, because we could demonstrate that we have that much money coming in, and we could apply for the visa, and it doesn't take so long to get. As you'll hear, the way we're going does take a long time. It can take about 6 to 18 months to get this visa. And so the requirements here include proof of income, valid passports, police clearance certificates, and medical reports. And it's relatively straightforward to get if you meet those financial criteria. And the next one is the financially independent visa. And this is aimed at individuals who can demonstrate that they've got a high net worth, and I'll come back to that one in a bit because it's similar to what we're actually going to do. So lastly, there are a few other visas that are worth mentioning briefly, such as the spousal visa for those who are married to or in a life partnership with a South African citizen or a permanent resident, and then the medical visa for those seeking long-term medical treatment in South Africa. So I'm not going to go into either of those. They're pretty self-explanatory and probably not relevant for most listeners, but those are the main visa options if you're a foreigner and you want to spend more time in South Africa. And of course, each one caters for different needs and different circumstances and different points in your life. So it's worth taking the time, as we've done, to research which one is right for you. So without further ado, let me talk about the plans that we have, which is actually to skip all of that process and apply straight away for residency. And we decided that we wanted to apply for residency straight away because you don't need one of the other visas I've mentioned before you apply for residency, and residency can also take an awful long time. And the residency is based on your financial wealth, and that is going to be the best option for us. And this allows us to stay in South Africa for a completely extended period of time, giving us the flexibility to split our time between South Africa 6 months and UK 6 months. Now, to get this residency, you need to demonstrate that you've got a net worth of 12 million Rand, which doesn't have to be in South Africa. Now, 12 million Rand in UK pounds is about £510,000, and that's about 650,000 US dollars. And as I say, it doesn't have to be in South Africa, and that can be made up of a combination of property, of savings, of pensions, of home, of cars, jewelry, and everything else. So I know that's a lot of money, but you know, we have a home that's worth that amount, and obviously I have a pension and all the rest of it. So for us, it's not impossibly difficult to hit that target. But let's talk about the application process, because this is where the fun and games really begin. So first of all, on recommendation of friends, we're going to be using a consultancy or administrator to guide us through the process, because the process takes an awful long time, and we want to be sure that we have the paperwork in order at the beginning, so somewhat further down the line it doesn't get rejected and we go back to square one, which can happen. So right now we're in the process of gathering all the necessary documents. So this includes your passport, it includes fingerprints, proof of financial means, marriage certificate, police clearance certificates, and medical reports. And once we've got all that information together, we next have to submit our application to the South African Embassy in London. And we have to actually go down there to have an appointment and then submit that information. And it's important to note that the process will take a long time. And so you need to apply well in advance of your intended move. And the consultancy that we're using said it can be as quick as 18 months. But our friends who've recently got residency out there said it took them 7 years. So we are definitely planning in advance. Mainly this backlog is due to the huge backlog that they have of millions of applications and a very inefficient system. We're told that they're using IT systems from the 70s and 80s in the Department of Home Affairs in Pretoria. So we need to apply and just wait. And in terms of costs, you pay for the service of the consultancy up front, then you pay 120,000 rands, so that's about £5,500 or $6,500 to the Department of Home Affairs once the permanent residency is approved. So you don't have to pay on application, but pay it at the end of the process. So that's where we are with this process so far, and we're right at the beginning. But we're in no rush to get this residency. It's definitely part of our longer term plan. But for the next few years, the automatic 3-month visa will be enough for us when we go to South Africa. And indeed, even when the digital Nomad visa comes in, I may well apply for that so I can stay there for longer than 3 months at a time. But knowing how long this process takes, we want to start planning now for a residency, which we'll probably want to take up in 6, 7, 10 years from now. So our longer term plans are to spend from November to April in South Africa, enjoying their summer and their sunny weather and escaping the awful dark and cold winter nights in the UK, and then return to the UK hopefully when spring arrives and spend sort of April to the beginning of November or end of October in the UK, and then back to South Africa. So we are getting the best of both worlds. We become swallows, as many people do, and we are sort of chasing the sun and avoiding the dark, gloomy winter nights of the UK. Now, one of the most important aspects you need to consider when you're thinking about a move to South Africa is healthcare, because South Africa has fantastic private healthcare facilities. In fact, my friends all say to me that if you need treatment, then go have it while you're in South Africa. But you also need to make sure that you get comprehensive health insurance to cover the potential needs when you are there. And as I said, it's a reasonably cost effective and very good. And so you're going to be spending around about £100 to £200 a month. So that's about $150 to $250 a month for healthcare, and something that you must consider when you're pricing up the potential move. So if you are considering a similar move to South Africa or anywhere else in the world, really do your research on healthcare options, on the various options for having a visa, and obviously your options around living, whether you want to rent or whether you want to buy, as we have done. It will give you peace of mind, and you will have all the information at your fingertips before you embark on the journey, and get help from people in communities or friends that you have in the country that you're moving to. And when it comes to applying for visas, then it's definitely worth paying a little bit more money and getting an expert helping you through the process so that you don't miss out any steps, and as I say, go back to square one. So that's our residency plans in a nutshell. It's been a big journey, and in life I always think about focusing on one thing at a time. So now that the process of buying our apartment has finished, it's time to turn our attention to residency. And then the first thing in that journey is finding the right consultancy, deciding on the right type of visa or to apply for, and then getting all of the things in place that we need. It's really an exciting adventure, and it's also really exciting for us to be thinking about the next phase in our life and the next adventure in our life, and planning for that. So if you've got any questions about the process or comments that you've gone through yourself, please do leave a comment below. I love hearing from all of you, the good, bad and the ugly. And in the last couple of videos, we've had lots of engagement and lots of discussion, which I really love. It tells me that my video is really resonating with you guys. So please do feel free to leave a comment, and of course, give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so you're alerted the next time a video goes live. So as I said, if you're thinking about this, it can be very complex and overwhelming, but just focus on one step at a time and start the process a long way ahead. And we are really excited to begin the next phase of our life's journey. And talking of journey, we will see you next time as we head out on the road again.